Hey guys, Kelade here. I've been doing a little bit of testing on PTR, so let's take a look at Tier 21 for Fury Warriors. Now, first of all, this is the PTR, so everything that I say could be subject to change if Blizzard decides to tune the tier pieces a little bit. Now, really quickly, let's look at the 2-piece and 4-piece set bonuses you get when you do equip Tier 21. Now, the 2 set bonus gives you Rampage causes the target to bleed for an additional 30% of the direct damage dealt to the target over 4 seconds. Now, the way that you want to interpret this pretty much just puts a baseline 30% buff on all of your rampage damage done. Not only that, this damage does get cleaved, and you guys will see that in the clip that I'm about to show you. When I walk up these mobs and I proc meat cleaver with my whirlwind and then I hit rampage, it will cleave the dot onto the additional target. So in that sense, every single thing that you do a rampage gets this damage buff increase. Alright, so I'll hit this guy with the rampage, and then we'll look at the second guy, and he does have the dot too, right? So yes, the dot does apply to everybody. So this tier piece doesn't just serve as a good increase to our single target, but it will also help our AoE too. Now, currently on the PTR, this 30% damage does snapshot, and the dot itself cannot be buffed or modified by any of our buffs and modifiers. So for example, if you walk up to a mob and you use all of your buffs and you buff that rampage, that damage that rampage does is snapshotted pretty much, and then 30% of that damage will be converted into a dot. Even if you just hit a rampage by itself without any buffs, and then you try to buff the dot afterwards, the dot itself won't actually get buffed. So really all you need to worry about with the 2-piece is just doing as much damage with the rampage itself, and the dot will just reflect that. Now, the 4-piece is when you activate Battlecry, the damage of Rampage is increased by 75% for 8 seconds. Now, of course, this is a little bit longer than what your Battlecry actually lasts, since even with Rex's Abandon, your Battlecry is only going to last 7 seconds, but this 8 seconds does pretty much guarantee that as long as you prioritize the 100 raised Rampages, you'll actually be able to use around 3 Rampages within this window. And unlike previous iterations of this tier, this 75% applies to all of the Rampages that you do during this time window. Once again, since the 4-piece also buffs Rampage damage, you can also expect this to not be a boost to our single target damage, but it will also be a boost to AoE and especially burst AoE with the 4-piece. Now, speaking about prioritizing that 100 raised rampage, so currently on tier 21 on the live servers, you are actually going to be prioritizing that enraged raging blow in Battlecry even if you're at 100 rage, but with tier 21, you're actually going to want to prioritize that 100 raised rampage instead because of how important it is to try to get that 3 rampage cast within this 8-second time window, and ideally within the Battlecry window itself. So really quickly, let me show you guys what the sims would be if we still prioritize enraged raging blow instead of the 100 raised rampage and Battlecry. You're seeing 2 different sims being run. One is using the helmet and pants, and the other is using the helmet and ring. Both of these sims are using PTR values, so you are seeing the nerfed version of COF, where instead of it reducing the cooldown of your Battlecry by 5 seconds, and now reduces it by 4. So with the helmet and pants, your tier 20 actually still going to win. And then with the helmet and ring, your tier 21 starts winning out. But the DPS that you're seeing here does not have the more correct priority now of prioritizing that 100 raised rampage. So then if we fix that in the APL and now submit with prioritizing that 100 raised rampage in Battlecry, you now get this as the DPS, which is higher than both tier 20 and tier 21 using the helmet and pants or the helmet and ring. So essentially with tier 21, there's more of a heavy emphasis on really taking advantage of Rampage, especially during Battlecry. Now, even with this, however, currently, when you're not in Battlecry, it still is better to prioritize the Enraged Raging Blow over the 100 Rage Rampage. So there's going to be a slight difference in your priorities when you're now in Battlecry and when you're outside of it. So the answer to the question that you guys are all probably asking for, is it going to be worth it to wear Tier 21? Yes. But you want to make sure that you're wearing the right pieces. So recently, there's been changes actually to the stat values that are on tier 21. Blizzard recently made it so that the helmet and pants both have crit and burst. So those 2 slots are going to be the worst slots. So ideally, you want to avoid those tier pieces, which is fine because the helmet is a really good legendary. So totally cool that the worst tier piece, is one of our best legendaries. The tier pieces that you are going to want to wear are their shoulders, the cape, the hands, and the chest. You know, only the shoulders has crit on it. Everything else has some version of haste mastery or haste verse. So those are really good stats to have on the tier pieces that you would wear. Now, of course, another thing that you could do is try to mix up your tier 20 and tier 21. So currently on your screen, I have put on a few more legendary choices, and interestingly enough, right there at the top, you guys can see Massacre, Execute. So that's the Massacre ring and the Execute ring, which is Ayla Stoneheart, and also wearing the 2-piece tier 20 in the 2 slots where you're not wearing 4-piece tier 21. So for example, you can wear the helmet and pants from tier 20, and then the shoulders, cloak, chest, and gloves from tier 21. That allows you to wear 6 tier pieces, and you can use the 2 legendary rings, which technically there is some synergy between the Massacre ring and the Ayla Stoneheart, because one is that Massacre ring has no effect outside of execute phase, and Ayla Stoneheart allows you to execute outside of execute phase. But of course, these values that I'm simming are using 970 versions of these legendaries. So once we get closer to the raid release, I'll have more updated sims using the 1000 eye levels of these legendaries. But I think the biggest thing to take note from this is kind of like the breakout star that you guys are seeing, which is the Massacre ring. It definitely looks like with tier 21, the Massacre ring is looking really strong. And not only that, you know, some variation of the Massacre ring and an off tier piece legendary could also be good too, since that will also allow you to wear the 2-piece tier 20 with the 4-piece tier 21, you know, such as the Pride As and the Massacre ring, or even the Bracers and the Massacre ring. Also with tier 21, a lot of people are asking, oh, is the Rampage relic going to get better? Is it going to be Biz? Short answer, no, it's not. And I don't think anything in this expansion will ever dethrone the Battlecry relic and Rival Strength, you know, unless Blizzard heavily nerfs this trait. So for that, you guys can see the sims. Currently on my character, wearing tier 21, if I got one more point of each of these relic, where my DPS would be at. So for example, right, tier 21 is at the very bottom, so that's with no relics, what my DPS is, and then if I have an Unrivaled Strength, it'll bump up my DPS by a large amount. Raging Berserker comes in second. That's the Enraged relic that increases your damage done during Enrage. And then Wrath and Fury and Unstoppable are pretty close. Wrath and Fury is the Rage and Blow one. Unstoppable is the Rampage one. So if you can get Unrivaled Strength, that's obviously still the best. Between Raging Berserker, Wrath and Fury, and Unstoppable, those 3 are kind of even, but Raging Berserkers this time around is able to solidify itself as the second choice, because especially if you're going to be using the Massacre ring, your enrage uptime will actually go up. And of course, you're going to be using less Raging Blows with a new priority where you want to prioritize that 100 raise Rampage in Battlecry. So that does put slightly lower value on the Wrath and Fury, the Raging Blow trait. So all in all, that was my first look at the tier 21 for Fury Warriors. So of course, everything is subject to change. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. And be sure to subscribe to see when I do go over the new trinkets that are going to be coming out with the Antorus Raid. See ya.